Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 8th, 2021 meeting of the Westbrook. Hold on.
I don't think the audio is working.
Okay. Is anyone else's?
I think so. Probably.
We need Mr. Solomon to save us. I think you did. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December 8th, 2021 meeting of the Westbrook School Committee. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll begin with a roll call. Jessica Foley.
Here.
Jeremy McGowan.
Here.
Andrea Mancuso.
Here.
Noreen Poitras.
Here.
Katie Rice.
Here.
Suzanne Salisbury.
Here.
Beth Schultz.
Here.
So we'll begin our meeting this evening with a request to recess into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A to discuss appointments and committee assignments. This is an action item for approval. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Motion made by Mr. McGowan, seconded by Ms. Salisbury. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? You are in executive session. To adjourn from executive session. Motion made by Ms. Salisbury, second by Ms. Rice. All in favor? You are out of executive session. Now we have the election of a chair to the Westbrook School Committee. Are there nominations for the role of chair? Ms. Schultz?
I nominate Sue Salisbury.
Is there a second? Thank you. Discussion? And there'll be a roll call vote. Jessica Foley?
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan?
Yes.
Andrea Mancuso?
Yes.
Katie Rice?
Yes.
Noreen Poitras?
No.
Suzanne Salisbury?
Yes.
Beth Schultz?
Yes.
Congratulations, Ms. Salisbury.
Thank you.
And you are now chairing the meeting.
Take it away. so
Take
to
it away.
speak. So next will be the election of vice chair to the school committee. Are there any nominations? Andrea,
Nominate Beth Schultz.
any seconds? Seconded by Ms. Rice. Any discussion? Okay, it'll be a roll call vote. Dr. Lancia?
Yes. Jessica Foley?
Yes.
Jeremy McGowan?
Yes.
Andrew Mancuso?
Yes.
Noreen Poitras?
No.
Katie Rice?
Yes.
Suzanne Salisbury?
Yes.
Beth Schultz?
Yes.
6-1.
Right, congratulations,
Ms.
Beth.
Schultz.
Thank you. Okay, on to adjustments to the agenda. I know we have a couple that were sent out earlier today. One of them we're going to leave off, which was some nominations for some positions. Those will be brought up next month. And then we have another item, which will be 16.6 or 16.5. 16.6, which is the one regarding the donation from the Westbrook Warm Chamber. I think 16.5, Dr. Lancia, was one that we're not going to do, is that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda? Okay. On to approval of the minutes from our November 10th, 2021 meeting. Make a motion by Ms. Mancuso and seconded by Ms. Schultz. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. 6. All those against? Oh. Okay. Ms. Poitras, I didn't see your vote on that. Oh, you voted for? Okay. 7 in favor, none opposed. All right, on to communications and correspondence that are in your packet. Is there anything we need to discuss with that, Dr. Lancia?
Nope, they're just as reported.
Okay. Great. Student council, I don't think we have our student reps here this evening. We'll look for them next month. All right, and then we come to our first public participation for agenda items only, 3 minutes per speaker. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment? I just wanted to say something really quickly. I appreciate the nomination and the support to be the chair of the Westbrook School Committee. I'm very pleased to be able to take on that role. I want to say thank you to Noreen for her role as being the chair for the last few years and the ability to work with her and to learn the role and to be a part of that process. And so I'm excited to move forward. In this role, I think one of the most important things to me is going to be what I consider right now as a time of healing in the school department. We're finally back in the high school. Things are sort of getting back to normal, but not really. and our sort of new norm here in the Westbrook School Department in the middle of a pandemic that we thought was only going to last a couple of weeks, almost 2 years ago. So I think is this time of healing, as a school committee, whatever we can do to support the students and the families and the staff through this time, I think that's going to be our major focus, and I'm pleased to be able to be a part of that. Thank you. Moving on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Lancia.
Thank you, Ms. Salisbury, and congratulations on your appointment as chair, and to Ms. Schultz as your appointment as vice chair. And I echo your thanks to Mrs. Poitras for your 2 years of leadership as the chair of the school committee, and to your collaboration and your energy and your support that you've given to the children of this community, to your colleagues on the board, to our faculty and staff, and to me. I appreciate the work you've done. And welcome to our 2 new school committee members, Katie Rice and Jessica Foley. Welcome to the school board, and thank you for your service. Thanks to all of you who were reelected and continue to be elected. Thank you for your service to the children of this community. I would like to start by offering our condolences. 2 of our retired teachers passed away recently. Barbara Beasley taught first grade at Sakarapa School for about 25 years, and for about 10 or 15 years was a substitute teacher and a volunteer, and has been a very active member of the school community. Her daughter teaches kindergarten with us now. Barbara was one of my mentors when I started teaching at Sakarapa, so my condolences to her family, and she certainly lives on in all of us who were taught by her in so many different ways. And also our condolences to the family of Steve Parmelo. Steve passed away recently after a very short illness. He was a science teacher at Westbrook Middle School for many years. He was also very active in the WEA. His sister is one of our bus drivers, another important member of our school community, of the Westbrook community, who will be greatly missed. So our sympathies from all of us in the school department family to Steve and his family, and to Barbara's family as well. In your packets, you have this month's Teaching and Learning newsletter. It'll be published tomorrow on the website and in Thursday folders and with our evening email. Just a couple of things I'd like to point out to you. One is that we're having a regional job fair. We still have a number of open positions in the school department, primarily in our support staff. That includes custodians and bus drivers, substitute teachers, ed techs, general ed techs, as well as special ed techs, intervention, Title I ed techs. We're participating in this job fair with the other Greater Sebago Alliance schools. That's our regional consortium of schools that partner on a number of initiatives. And we'll be hosting it here at Westbrook Middle School this coming Saturday, 9 to 11, right in the cafeteria, right as you come in the main door of the school. If you know of anyone who's interested in working for the schools, please reach out to us and either come to that event, or if you can't come to the event, just reach out to our Human Resource Department, our school principals, to me directly. We would love to talk to you about coming to work for the Westbrook schools and to work with our students. The positions that we have open are full-time positions, but we are willing to talk to people who may be able to do part-time. Some positions are critical to be filled, so we'd love to entertain lots of folks who would be able to come and work in our schools. So that's this Saturday. You probably heard the really nice ad on the radio. One of our local regional schools has a connection with a couple of radio stations, so we were able to do that regional promotion as well, which was really cool. So that's this Saturday, 9 to 11, here at Westbrook Middle School. And also, I want to just highlight, tomorrow evening, our elementary schools will be hosting a virtual family STEAM night. STEAM meaning science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. It's a virtual event. The link is in the newsletter. I sent the link out in my nightly emails a couple of times. It features a local author, Megan Fraser Blakemore. And Meg was actually our school librarian at Westbrook High School a few years ago, and now she's a professional children's author. So the evening will feature her literature as well as some STEAM activities. You do need to have some cardboard and some scissors and some tape in order to fully participate, but even if you don't have those, we hope you'll join in that special family event. And thank you to the elementary schools, to Dr. O'Donnell, others who designed that initiative. And we hope we have a very high attendance for that. I want to mention about our storm day plan for this coming year. I mentioned that in my email this week. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of questions. Are snow days a thing of the past now that we know how to do remote learning? Don't we still need snow days because everyone likes staying in their jammies all day and drinking hot chocolate before we have to go out and shovel snow? We'd like to have both on the table as options. However, the first 3 times that we need to cancel school because of stormy weather, they will be fully traditional storm days, which means no school. Okay? The first 3 times that we have to cancel school, there'll be old-fashioned no school days. After that, if we start to accumulate other needs to have no school because of weather, we will consider a remote storm day. But in order for us to have a remote storm day, we have to meet the requirements of state law for what constitutes a school day. Last year, during the heart of the pandemic, we had waivers. The Commission of Education, the Department of Education, allowed schools much more flexibility in terms of what a school day would be, as well as the length of the school day, the requirements of the school day. Those waivers are no longer in place this year. We're back to the pre-pandemic rules around school, which is Chapter 125. So in order to have a school day, we have to make sure it's a certain length. It has to be engaged learning. It can't be just, here's your assignment, go do it. It has to be, have some semblance of a typical school day. It may be shortened a bit, it may be a little bit different in nature, but it has to involve active teaching and learning. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that all of our students would have access to technology at home. Right now, our elementary students are not bringing technology home with them every day. They had that at home every day last year. Our middle and high school kids do bring their technology home, but they may need hotspots. So we'll be surveying the community to see what kind of needs people would have if we had to have a remote snow day. And also, in order to have a remote snow day, we'd have to know in advance and be pretty confident that the storm was as bad as they're saying, and that we would almost have to call off school the day before. I try to do that for the convenience of families and making plans for daycare and such, usually in the evening as I watch the weather throughout the day. But in terms of preparing for a fully remote storm day, we would have to know for certain by midday. We also have to make arrangements to provide food for our students. Many of our students count on us for food every day, and we're also required to make sure that food is offered every day in order for it to be a school day. So we will consider remote learning days after those first 3 traditional no school storm days, but we'll do a little research in the in-between time to make sure that if we are going to have those, we are able to do that, and we have the capacity to do that for our students. Okay? So the first 3 days will be no school days, and I will give you a call at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning to let you know that. One of the challenges of the pandemic has been trying to fit everything in while we've been juggling COVID and we've been juggling schedules and such. One of the items that unfortunately kind of fell to the back burner was the renewal of our strategic plan as a school department, our Vision 2026. We have Vision 2021, which lists our goals for the school department, which is expiring. It's 2021. And it should have been renewed last year. We didn't do that because of the complications of the pandemic. We kind of extended that 1 more year. We need to start looking at Vision 2026 and looking at our goals as a school community, looking at our schools and assessing our schools, soliciting input, soliciting feedback about what's going well, what's not going well, and what we envision school to be like in 5 years at the end of this strategic plan. So over the next few months, we'll be launching a process that will include input from the community, hopefully live in-person input through focus groups and community meetings, or virtual focus groups and community meetings, as well as surveys, opportunities to review data. Several things will come through some of our subcommittees, like the Ed Programs Committee, to look at ways that we've achieved goals of the previous vision and goals that we're going to be setting for the next vision. We hope to get that initial survey out before the December break, and then to have those community meetings in January, so that in February we will be able to review our data, the annual State of the Schools report that I'll present in February, and then in late February and March, start to synthesize the data, start to put the data together, analyze what it means, and start to determine goals, and then finally action steps in order for the school committee to adopt a new strategic plan, a new vision 2026. Certainly by the end of the school year, but probably coinciding at around the same time as our budget process. So we'll be launching that soon. You'll see some surveys, some opportunities to respond. I hope that people will respond. We always have some good input from the community, especially on surveys. So I hope you'll continue to do that, and there will be some opportunities for people to come together to have conversations as well. So that's an exciting piece that we will be launching very soon. It's overdue, but it's time to do that. We're very excited that our high school is open. It is fully open. As of Monday, all of our students were back. There's a fantastic energy in our school. There's a lot of people in our school because they haven't seen a school full of about 850, 900 people with adults and kids in the building for quite a while. But we are so excited to have everybody back in person. We're also very thankful to the contractors and our own custodians and the people who really pushed the project forward on a very accelerated timeline. We set up as Thanksgiving to be our deadline, and they were able to meet that deadline. And we had staff in our building just before Thanksgiving, a couple of days after the Thanksgiving break, and our students started arriving last Wednesday. Our juniors and seniors were first to arrive and kind of set foot back in their familiar territory. They were very proud to be back in their school. And then Thursday and Friday were orientation days for our underclassmen, our 9th and 10th graders, to kind of get the nervousness out of being in a new place. And the majority of them had never been inside of Westbrook High School before. And then everyone is back this week. And again, the energy is great. The learning is back in place. We're very excited to have everyone back and very thankful to everyone's support for getting them back. I just want to call out our team of principals, Jeff Garrett, Patrick Holgan, and Wendy Harvey, who showed amazing leadership during this last 4 months of being remote and the last 4 months of working through a construction project. You guys are amazing. As is the faculty at Westbrook High School. We have one of the finest high school faculties in the state, if not New England. People who care deeply about kids, people who care deeply about their content, and they rose to the occasion. And they're continuing to do that as we come back to school this week and last week. Thanks to our amazing students. Again, the best kids in the entire state go to Westbrook High School. Best kids in the region. And they really are shining, and they are really showing their appreciation for being back together, being back with their friends, back with the adults, back to in-person learning. They're doing a fantastic job, and I really thank them and appreciate them for their dedication over these last few months. And of course, our families for whom this was awful as well, excruciatingly awful, because we were seeing our kids struggle with some online learning and struggle with some isolation after being isolated for a year due to the pandemic. Thank you to our families for your patience, your support, your questions, your tough questions, your encouragement, your notes, your thoughts. Means a lot to all of us that our families stood beside us as we worked to reopen Westbrook High School. And to the folks in the city as well. Our fire inspector, our code inspector worked very closely with us throughout the project. It's amazing that we were able to do it in such a short amount of time. It's quite beautiful. We'll be holding our facilities meeting there next Monday night so that people can get a chance to take a peek at the renovations that have happened at the high school. I think we'll be really pleased with what you see. Dr. Mazianis and I have been meeting with our insurance broker as well as the adjusters from Liberty Mutual, our insurance provider, to start to define the final amounts of our claim for the loss at Westbrook High School. And I'll ask Dr. Mazianis to come to the microphone. He'll highlight a document that's in the packet tonight that outlines the different areas of our claim, as well as how the revolving renovation approval will work and a couple of other things as we look to finalize the payment for this project as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think the most important thing to remember here is that in the beginning of August, we had a fire that literally did $1 million worth of construction damage. Having been a principal in a couple of construction sites in Westbrook, those take forever to get done. And the fact that we're in school in this short amount of time really shows the determination that the entire team had, and the amazing work that ServPro, Liberty Mutual, and some of the other vendors that we worked with on this project did. It was truly, it felt like, well, we pushed hard, and they responded, and we got kids back into school in a very timely fashion. Again, when you think about a claim of structural damage that's somewhere in the neighborhood of just under $1 million, and to get that rolling, you know, with school right around the corner, to get it done as quickly as they did, that was just truly amazing. In your packet, you have a breakdown of the Westbrook fire insurance claim. This is the best information we have to this point. So, to this point, there's been, again, in terms of damages, just under $1 million in damages and repairs and cleanup, of which about $642,000 have already been spent, and there's remaining about $334,000 to finish up this phase one. And actually, that's an important distinction I want to put out there too. In order to open school up as quickly as possible and safely, we divided the project up into all the things that needed to be done to make the school habitable and safe for children. And that was prioritized to be done quickly. And then there's going to be a phase two to this as well in order to kind of finish up that work. So in the building project, again, we're talking about that for, really, this is a quote for phase one, all the stuff that needed to get done. Items lost in the fire, $126,254, and this is things like furniture. We had some copiers, some computers, art supplies, things like that were damaged by either the water or the fire. And again, that's stuff that items that we're currently purchasing or have already purchased in order to make everybody whole. Fire expenses, in our policy, we had the ability to recoup loss as a result of having to go remote with our children. This purchased things like hotspots for folks who did not have connectivity in their house. This also purchased things like some interactive programs like Labster that we used with our high school kids. Finally, the last one, this is a really cool one. This is, in our policy, we had this rider that allows, if there's a catastrophic damage, that we could, money could be spent for code upgrades that were seen as a result of this. So all the fire, the smoke walls that were put up, and the penetrations through walls that needed to be closed was paid for in the code upgrade, which I think is absolutely amazing. Now we're going to be looking at what phase two looks like, and again, phase two is going to be finishing off the lighting, finishing off the low voltage wiring. That's going to be done outside of the school day. And a really cool thing happened. We applied for and received a revolving renovation loan, and what that is for $570,000. What that is basically is, because of the fire, the state comes forward and says, look, we know that districts don't just have that money laying around, and they're funding, well, it's $570,000, of which half of that is forgiven, so $294,000 will be forgiven, and the remaining part, if we go out to bond, the $275,000 will be an interest-free 10-year loan. So it's a very good deal for the Westbrook School Department to help us do that phase two as we move into the vacations and the summer break. But yeah, it was a pretty amazing effort by everybody involved, and we know how hard it was for our community, and just really impressed with all the leadership that folks showed around the fire. All right, that is what I have. Anyone have any questions for me?
Do we have a ballpark of what the insurance is anticipating covering? So the total is, for phase one, is $1.2 million and change?
No,
Is
no,
there, do we have a sense of what the city's going to have to pick up?
Actually, the 1.2 is what is going to be covered by insurance. There are some additional expenses, and right now I think they're around just under 100,000 additional expenses that won't be covered in phase one. Yep.
So
And
that's-
that really is a ballpark because phase one isn't done yet.
So I think we probably should recognize the good advocacy that has happened by the administration and our insurance adjuster, because I think where you all started was significantly a much larger window between what the insurance initially wanted to cover, unless I've missed the information somewhere along the way.
No, you're right. The insurance company worked very well with us and our local broker as well as advocacy. The insurance is covering the overwhelming majority of the repair and upgrades and other things that were associated with the fire and the water damage, primarily the water damage within the building. And if you remember, too, there is a fund that was established through the remaining money from the Saccarafa Middle School projects that Mayor Foley and the City Council have appropriated for school capital needs. And that's where we would be requesting anything over and above the insurance funding, as well as the revolving renovation funds for phase two.
Thanks.
Any other questions about that? Beth?
Yeah, just real quickly, I appreciate the text. I mean, it's very conversational and helpful, and also the spreadsheet. Will you be giving us updates monthly on how things move forward, or quarterly? Or I'm just, thinking about the remaining funds and how that.
Sure. I think once we have phase one done and we have the numbers, absolutely we'll get that. And then the hope is we'll have that done before the break, and if we do, I'll get you the numbers then. Then the next phase two, I can keep you apprised of what's going on there as well. We'll have to go out to bid for some of our projects. But yeah, I absolutely can keep you up to date on that.
Thanks.
Yep.
Great. Anyone else have any other questions about that presentation? Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Marjanis.
guys.
Great, thank you, Dr. Masianis. I've had some questions asking for some updates as to where we are with COVID-19. COVID-19 has certainly not gone away, and there are different variants that are running rampant around the world and in our local community. And the conditions have caused our middle school to be remote this week because of the numbers of cases and quarantines and close contacts. I just have a little bit of data that I'd like to share around where we are as a school community with COVID-19. To date, throughout the entire 20 months of the pandemic, there have been 272 cases of COVID, 100 positive cases of COVID that have affected our schools. 117 of those cases have been since the start of this school year. So 117 positive cases this school year. Since the beginning of this school year, there have been 2,833 people identified as close contacts. And a close contact is somebody who is in close proximity to a person who's diagnosed positive with COVID for a cumulative 15 minutes during the course of a 24-hour period. There were 998 close contacts through November 9th. And November 9th is significant because that's when we began our pool testing initiative. There have been 1,835 close contacts since then. That's a large number. That's almost double what we saw at the beginning of the year. And I think that's following state, regional, and national trends with the number of cases that are there. When someone is a close contact, that does not necessarily mean that they have to be quarantined. There are several exemptions to quarantine, reasons why people can still come to school, come to work, even if they're identified as a close contact. That includes pool testing. If they participate in our pool testing program, they're allowed to come to school if they are symptoms-free. If they are vaccinated fully vaccinated. They're able to come to school if they're symptoms free. We do require universal masking in our schools. That's another exemption that's allowable to allow people not to be quarantined. We maintain our 3 to 6 feet social distance to the extent possible. Sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes it's not possible to maintain 3 to 6 feet, particularly with our younger children who are 5 and 6 and 7 years old, who are in each other's space naturally, unfortunately, and fortunately, because it's good to be back together. We do ask our teachers to maintain seating charts that help us to designate where children sit so that our nurses can look at a positive case and see who was likely to be sitting near them. Teachers verify that if they really stay in their seats or if they move around. But if they are verified to be at least 3 to 6 feet apart from the positive case, they have a quarantine exemption as well. And they're also considered exempt if they've had a previous diagnosis of COVID within the last 90 days. Now, all of these exemptions represent some of our mitigation strategies. And a mitigation strategy is like a slice of Swiss cheese, and we layer the slices of Swiss cheese one on top of each other, and the holes don't always line up when you layer cheese. The same is true with the COVID strategies. Can something get through someplace? Absolutely, and that's where we see breakout cases, nationally and internationally. But as we add other strategies, we gradually close those holes, and we close those opportunities for COVID to spread. Masking is one of the best preventative measures for spread within an indoor setting, as is vaccination. We listen to Dr. Shah, Dr. Fauci. Vaccination is certainly one of the best ways to prevent sickness from COVID as well as spread of COVID. All of our strategies are in place to help reduce the amount of spread, but also they're in place to reduce the amount of time kids have to miss school because of quarantine needs. We don't have exact numbers of people who are vaccinated because that's protected by HIPAA. But if we look at the CDC's dashboard and we look up 04092, which is the city of Westbrook, it reports that almost to date, until December 5th when it was updated, there are 1,976 positive cases of COVID within the city of Westbrook. And as we know, 272 of those were school-related, adults and children-related. The dashboard also gives an estimate, a percentage of people who are vaccinated within a community. Right now, about 60% of our population under the age of 17 is vaccinated. It isn't broken down by school, but that gives us a sense of what our community is like with people who are 17 and under. We did have some very good turnout at our school vaccination clinics that were held last month, and this week the second doses are being given. We had about a 30% rate of attendance or participation in the vaccine clinics. We're hoping to organize others as we move into the start of 2022. Pool testing is one of the other strategies that we use specifically to try to keep kids in school and to keep kids out of quarantine. Because if students participate in pool testing, they're allowed an exemption from quarantine if they're symptoms free. We do have percentages and numbers of people who are engaged in pool testing at our schools. At Canal School, 141 kids, or 61% of the population at Canal, and I should say it's students and adults, so it's the Canal population, about 61% participate in the pool testing. At Congan School, 168 people, which is about 49% of that school population. Sakarapa, 282 people, which represents about 56%. And that raw number also includes our transportation staff. The transportation staff participate in the Sakarapa pool testing, in part because they're just down the street, and that allows our nurses and our staff to provide that pool testing for those who want to participate from our transportation department. And at our middle school, there are 259 people who participate, which, if you remember, is only grades 5 and 6. We've only had grades 5 and 6 participate in pool testing because 7th and 8th graders were typically old enough to have access to vaccinations. They were eligible earlier for vaccination, so only 5th and 6th grade participate in pool testing. When we look at just 5th and 6th grade and staff at Westbrook Middle School, about 52% of the 5th and 6th graders and staff participate in the pool test. If we look at the whole school population, only 30% participate because the 7th and 8th graders are not participating. So in total, about 850 people right now participate in pool testing, although additional people do ask for permission slips and participation forms all the time, which represents about 66% of our K-6 students and staff. Now the question might be, are any of these strategies working? They're working, because I think we should be really proud that we have not had to have school remote due to COVID until this week. And we can all watch the news and we can see schools surrounding us that have had to close for COVID-related reasons on more than one occasion. It was absolutely heartbreaking to me and devastating when Mrs. Wood and I had to decide that we had to be remote this week. Not something that I ever wanted to entertain, especially with the high school coming back. I can't wait till we have our whole family back together, which Monday, I hope, will be the first day everyone's here. But one of the complicating factors here at our middle school is the nature of the middle school. It's our largest school. It's a school where grade levels naturally intermingle through the arts, through band, through different classes where there are different grade levels. They're not as isolated into bubbles or pockets as we are able to do in the elementary schools. And not all of our students are in the pool testing, not all of them have vaccinations. So the numbers at the middle school have always tended to be a little bit higher than at the other schools. And overall, our participation in the pool testing seems to be on the lower end as well. So we hope that the remote week that we're having this week allows some of the cases that are very complicated cases with a lot of cross-contact tracing, people who are connected to multiple positive cases. Hopefully those cases can run out the quarantines and run out the isolation time. Knock on wood, hopefully symptoms free, so that we can be back together. I think we saw some results of some different gatherings and some different reasons why the numbers tended to be fairly high this week. So are our measures working overall? I think they are. I know they are, because we are able to be in school more and more with every case. When we have a meeting for every case, and we ask for the numbers of close contacts, and we hear, there were 72 close contacts, and my heart stops. And then they say, but only 10 of those have to quarantine, and here's why. That tells me that our strategies are working. Is it perfect? No. This is a pandemic. We're doing the best that we can. The capacity question has come up. Our nurses are working nonstop. Our principals are working nonstop. We are developing some revisions to our protocols about when we will contact trace and when we will not contact trace. Because to be perfectly honest, I can't have our nurses burn out. I can't have our principals burn out because they're contact tracing at 9 o'clock at night or at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So we will be revising some protocols as we get through the next several weeks and as we get into the next school year. Into the next calendar year. I hope it's done by the next school year. So that's kind of where we are in terms of our COVID numbers. I hope that's been helpful, informative. Questions? Yeah.
Are the 7th and 8th graders allowed to participate in pool testing if they are not vaccinated? Is that an option for them?
So it isn't part of our plan at this point.
Okay.
It could be a consideration. One of the factors in making that decision to include them in pool testing would have to do with the capacity of our staff. Mm-hmm. Pool testing is pretty fast. It's a pretty efficient thing. In fact, at the middle school, it has to be because it has to happen during first block, which isn't more than like 50 minutes long or something. So it's pretty quick, but it does shut down our clinic during that time because our nurse is involved, even though there are other people who are helping out. we may not have the capacity to do more than we have. We have an open position for a nurse. We've added a nursing position through our ESSER 3 funds in order to provide more of that nursing service in the clinic support, because we still have kids who need everyday nursing support as well as COVID management. But at this point, long answer, at this point it's not included in the plan.
Is it something that potentially, like, as more of the younger kids are getting vaccinated and they potentially wouldn't need to participate in pool testing if they've been vaccinated, would then that open up space to maybe allow for the kids that aren't to pool test? I'm just thinking of ways to keep them in school.
It's something we can consider and look at. It would depend if we're able to ensure that it can happen within the middle school.
Right.
If kids at one of the elementaries are not, could we have a staff member come to the middle school to do that? I should also mention, an average COVID case, when we have to contact trace, on average it takes about 2 hours per case, from the identification to the verification of pool testing, to the verification of spacing and distancing, to the phone calls, the emails, and when the cases get bigger and bigger, that time frame even extends. But we'll certainly discuss it. That's something that Dr. O'Donnell and Nurse Heath and I discuss very frequently. we're together quite a bit. But thank you for that.
Andrea?
Just wanted to give some kudos to the nursing staff and the administration for the pleasant nature in which they make these close contacts calls. And I'm sure that you're not necessarily getting pleasantness back from frustrated families who are running into this particular wall. Doing some quick math, in the last month, 1,835 close contacts translates to 61 phone calls a day to families, which is a lot, and secondary to the job that you're all doing to educate our kids. So having been on the receiving end of the close contact phone call, I just want to appreciate the pleasant nature in which you all are doing this.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that? Thank you guys very much for all that. Beth?
Oh, yeah. What is the administrative team doing to support the capacity of nurses and administrators, and what role do we have as school committee members to provide some help, support, relief? I mean, it just boggles my mind, as Andrea said.
It is kind of mind-boggling when we look at the size of a case, or at the end of the case when I get a report saying we're done, and they've made those 60 phone calls and they've done this and that. Each of our schools has a contact tracing team that involves administrators, different staff members, et cetera. We are looking at possibly inviting other people to be contact tracers as well, so that they can relieve some of our folks. A lot of the questions that contact tracing people get when they make phone calls are medical questions. So oftentimes the nurse gets the phone call anyway, because it's a question of, how quickly should I test, or what have you. We're getting pretty good at it in terms of answering some of the medical questions, but oftentimes the nurse is the only person. I'm hoping we can continue to provide additional nursing support. It's disheartening that we still have an open nursing position. And we've been trying to hire temporary nurses to come in, or LPNs, or other health aides, people who can help to support the work that they're doing. We may need to start to get creative about supporting our nursing staff within the school department in terms of employment. We may need to consider that. You may need to consider that as a committee at some point in the future.
Great, thank you. Did
And
you
this-
have any other questions about that, the COVID testing, contact tracing, or anything?
And there's one last thing in my superintendent's report this evening. Well, two things, but only one tonight. Steve Moulin cannot be here tonight. He was going to talk about STEAM, but since the middle school is remote and Steve is a very hands-on, showcasing his students kind of teacher, he'll come to our meeting next month to showcase the STEAM work that's going on here at the middle school. But we also have Rick Solomon, who's our drama director as well as English teacher, who will be sponsoring again this year something called Relay for Life. And he just wanted to give you some information about that, which will be an exciting event that we'll participate in next spring.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak with you. I think I've met most of you. For those of you that I haven't, I am an English teacher at the high school, and I do the drama program, as Dr. Lancia said, and I'm in my 18th year now. And what I'm here for is I'm hopes for your approval and support for an event that we would like to have in May 20th of 2022, which would be a Relay for Life, an American Cancer Society fundraiser called Relay for Life. We would like to have it at the high school, outside on the track. It would be an all-day event. Well, it would be probably from 11 to about 9 at night. We did one a few years ago, and it was very successful. It was a little smaller scale one that was very successful for the kids, and we last year developed a committee called Social Emotional Learning, and we thought it would be good as the kids have been kind of removed a little bit from the community, and we wanted to get them out there and involved and do something really good. And they really stepped up last time, and we think they will again. We want to make this not only a high school event, but a community event. Our goal will be to raise $25,000, and that's why I'm here. I'd like to answer any questions if you have any, and
Katie?
You said 9 a.m. to 11 p.m.?
11 a.m. to 9
11
p.m.
Oh, to 9 p.m. Okay. And I've done Relay for Life before. It's a wonderful event. I just usually have done it overnight, so I was just confirming the time.
They don't do them so much overnight anymore.
Okay.
They haven't been doing. I've been working with a woman, the lead event coordinator out of New York. She's been a great help, and we have a lot of things that we would plan throughout the day. That this is to raise, of course, funds for research, awareness, and prevention. And most of the funds, the bulk of the funds would be raised before the event, but that day can be a very special celebration and remembrance, and get all the kids involved. Last time we did it, we didn't have the opportunity. We did it when the seniors had already left. It was in early June, so the seniors couldn't attend. So we wanted to make sure if we had the opportunity to do it again, we could involve the leaders of our school and get them in there too. So it's something that we'd really like to do, and we hope that you will support. Any more questions?
Great. Any other questions about that? Great. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
Great cause.
Great, thanks, Mr. Solomon. And just as a point of order, the school committee doesn't have to take action on approving this because this is a pure fundraiser for the American Cancer Society, so none of the money would be received by the school department. But I'm sure Mr. Solomon will keep us informed so we can participate.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, just send me an email and I'll get right back to you. We'd love to have you involved in any way, and I think it's going to be a really great day. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you. Have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, Rick. And that's the end of my lengthy report.
Okay, great. All right, moving on to chair and committee reports. The Ed Programs Committee. Haven't met yet.
I can report out on that. Jessica Meninsky was the chair of that committee. That committee met on November 17th, and the purpose of that was to complete a fall data walk. We looked at fall NWEA achievement data at our schools. NWEA is now used as the state's accountability test, fall and spring, in grades 3 through 8 and 11th grade. Westbrook tests kids with the NWEA from kindergarten through 11th grade. And we were able to look at this fall's data, looked at some areas of strength, which were more in the reading areas, especially in middle and high school, and some areas of weakness, which showed some weakness, particularly in mathematics, which we're working to address with some pilots for new instructional programs at the elementary schools. But we are seeing some nice increases in math data in the middle and high schools. So overall, the data for the fall, coming back after a hybrid year in the pandemic, was fairly okay. There were some gaps. It was certainly lower than we were hoping it would be, but it was not so far out of the ballpark that we have some really significant worries. There are some ways that we're working to address those. We'll be doing another data walk with this committee when the next round of data is presented in the spring.
Okay, great. Facilities committee?
Oh, Sue, can we
yeah,
spend a
sorry.
few minutes
Sorry.
with the, can we spend a few minutes with that education program report out? I'm wondering if you're anticipating parents are going to get report outs for how their children did on the NWEA. I know I got one for my child in the 1920 school year, but didn't get one last year and haven't received one this fall. And I'd heard from at least one parent that they had problems getting their child's testing results after a direct request. So I'm just wondering if the policy has shifted amongst the administration about sharing those results with parents, or what that process looks like.
Let me look into that with Dr. O'Donnell, because we typically do share those results. So let me check to see if there was something different about this fall's administration. Where it's become the state assessment, there may be something to do with that, but let me check with Dr. O'Donnell and I can get back to you.
Okay. I had a couple more questions. If
Sure.
that's okay.
Can you just speak up a little bit more? And sorry, when you trail off, I can't hear you at all. I'm
It's
sorry.
my bingo card. Sue's told me to speak up once this meeting. So one of our policies requires some multiple annual reports around a district report card, and I would think that some of this data would be reflective in that district report card. Is there a month in which we can expect to sort of have that as a committee? I don't remember us having engaged with this type of information last year, and I think it requires sort of our committee to sort of engage and review, and also a report card that goes out to parents.
Back during the years of No Child Left Behind, there were some different requirements for schools to be reporting out what was called a report card. Without having that policy in front of me, that may have been connected with that directly. We typically, in a typical year, and last year was not a typical year, we report out some summary data as part of the State of the Schools report, which my plan is to have for you in February.
Great.
So that would be there, but the Ed Programs Committee is typically the group that would look at the data first and then be reported out here at the school committee. We are using NWEA as our primary screening tool, or our primary achievement tool, although at the elementary grades we're also using a diagnostic reading inventory to be more targeted in terms of what reading needs are present within our kids. We could certainly put together a presentation about what our assessment profile looks like within the schools in a typical year and in a kind of typical year, which is what we're in now. Last year would not have been an indication of a typical year.
And so probably the best thing would be to have the policy committee review what reports are required or spoken about in our policies, so we can make sure that either the policies are out of date, or if we need to update the reports that should be provided.
I think that would be great, because I think there are 3 that are explicitly noted in the AEC policy that are required to sort of come to us, and one to come to parents around assessment data and how kids are doing academically.
So we can refer that to the policy committee to have them review and to see what data is supposed to be collected and what needs to be updated.
We'll do that. I have one more.
Yeah.
So the notes from the committee meeting said discussions around the data show concerns at some grade levels in reading across the district, particularly in grades 2, 3, and 4. And my understanding is that the elementary schools are using the Teaching College Unit of Study curriculum, and I've seen some criticism of that curriculum, particularly looking at disparate impact amongst kids that might have better home support than other students. And so I'm wondering if, given these scores, if there's conversations happening around that research study that came out in, I think, 2020, and putting these test scores around it and looking at our curriculum that we're using for our elementary readers.
One of the benefits of that program, that framework, it's not a curriculum in itself, the Teachers College model. It's a workshop approach, which is in itself designed to really target kids where they are. so that in a classroom of 20 children, there might be children at 20 different reading levels or writing abilities or even math abilities, and it allows the teacher to differentiate within that model. The content of the units follow the Common Core, which is part of Maine Learning Standards, Westbrook's Learning Standards, in terms of content of literacy that we trace from beginning through middle school. But the framework itself is really where the heart of that work is. We're continuing to refine the way that we target the needs of our students. In fact, there are some really innovative things happening this year in terms of different grouping strategies at some schools where kids are being grouped temporarily for a few days or a few weeks to really target a certain skill. So, you know, as we do with all of our instructional programs, any of our commercial programs, we use the programs. We don't want the programs to be using us. we don't just say we do everything that program says because the publisher said it. We use those in order to meet the needs of our students. As we dig into the data, we are able to see specific areas of growth that are needed with different groups of kids, with different individuals, skills, concepts, strategies, and those are often the topics of targeted instruction. With either pushing in support into the classroom, pulling kids out into separate instruction, or even just informing the general program. So, you know, the program, to me, it's about the learning rather than the program. And we have teachers who are masterful in designing the program. We ask them to use the program itself to provide a scope and sequence, a kind of a guarantee of content from kindergarten through 8th grade. But the real heart of that teaching is that one-on-one or that small group instruction where we work with kids on developing comprehension skills if that's what they need. So there's that balance between a program which was never really designed to be a scripted program and the balance of knowing kids and following where they are as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay. Great. Facilities Committee?
Facilities Committee is currently working on a list. What's that? The Facilities Committee is currently working on putting together a list of and prioritizing it of what all the different schools and facilities around the school department are needing. Hoping to get an update for that for our next meeting coming up on Monday, the 13th. And of course the high school is open, which will be great to be able to walk through there and get a look at everything there, how it's going.
And I think in the packet there was the capital improvement, sort of the plan, so draft for that is included.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? I'm assuming that we'll get more updates on that plan as you guys continue to meet. Okay. Beth.
Oh, just a comment that it's great to see this
Yeah.
right in front of us, the red, you know, moderate and lower priority. It's very, very helpful, so thank you.
That's good. Awesome, thank you. The Finance Committee, we did meet on December 1st. As always, we talked about our the numbers, the school finances, and working on some programs that Dr. Mazianis has prepared for us. He gave us earlier tonight a presentation about the Westbrook, the fire claim, and we reviewed all of that, the information that he presented tonight. We talked about ESSER 3, which fantastic news that was approved. It's about $7 million. Right now, the leadership team is evaluating the positions throughout all of the ESSER funds, the different iterations of that program to see which fits where. And then as we get ready to do our budget process, we'll have to talk about some of those positions that were added based on that federal money, which positions would be discontinued and which ones would be added into our general fund, the positions that we've realized over the course of the year that we need to keep on. We did get some information about the middle school boiler, and we did move forward with the proposal from AirTep. We had received two quotes on that work. And so that work, I believe, is going to be able to be done. It isn't going to impact school, but so that work should be done soon, right? We talked a lot about recruiting as we have a job fair this weekend. We definitely need to do what we can to encourage people to refer people they know for the open positions that we have. Peter proposed having a finder's fee for employees who refer somebody that are eventually hired, $100 startup, and they may be $100 after 6 months, which is, you know, we really need to take advantage of some opportunities that we have so we can fill some of these positions. And we also talked about increasing the sub rates, which we're going to talk about later on this evening, I believe. Yes, under new business, so we can talk a little bit more about that. We need to do what we can to keep us competitive within the, you know, other districts around us. Everybody's in the same boat that we are, and we need to, whatever we can do to kind of fill those positions and keep those subs wanting to come back to Westbrook. We had a great discussion at the end of our random finance meeting about wellness and the direction. I talked about that a little bit before, but what resources do we have available that we can use to support our staff during this time? We've had a rough couple of years, and you know, we've talked about contact tracing, and we talk about all the work that goes into that, and I'd love to see us evaluate what sort of resources we have available to take care of our staff. And that's going to be an ongoing discussion that we really need to focus on. Again, back to what I mentioned about this time of healing as well as we continue to move forward. Our next meeting is going to be January 5th at Central Office. And everybody's welcome. Any questions about finance? Great. Policy Committee?
Yes, the policy committee met on November 22nd, and we're reporting on two policies that we made some very minor changes to them, assignment of students to classes and assignment of students. We're bringing to you tonight two policies about first aid. And the first one, if you look in your packet, the first one is first aid and emergency medical care. There have been some changes there. And then in the second one, we noticed after the packet went out that in A, school physician should be deleted. So the next time we vote on this, you will have a clean copy. So if school physician is deleted and B is deleted, then C becomes D. So we'll clear that up at the next meeting. But as Dr. Lancy was giving us an update on COVID, we spent a lot of time at our meeting talking about the COVID vaccination policy. And we had really a deep conversation about that because we again, there are OSHA requirements and DOL requirements. There's a vaccination mandate. There's been a stay on that right now. However, we do need to have some kind of policy in place. And we really are trying to uphold the needs of the teachers, and look at science and be guided by science, but also balance that with staff personal choice. And so the consensus that we arrived at is that, again, this is all in the works, so we'll bring this to you next time, is that school staff will have a choice. They can be vaccinated. If they're not vaccinated, they will have to be tested weekly and wear masks. So we're working on that right now. And our next meeting is January 24th, and so we have some big policies ahead of us, bullying, COVID vaccination, and now reporting to parents. Thank you.
Thank you. And so just to be clear, the policy is something that's coming down from federal OSHA, and that is federal OSHA saying to any company that has more than 100 employees, your employees have to be vaccinated, or you have to have a plan in place, either they're testing or whatever the plan is. So it's something coming from federal OSHA, and that's why we're starting the process to review that and figure out how does Westbrook fit into that, and how are we going to make it work the best for our staff.
Exactly.
So what that looks like. And we did hear that there's been a stay on that federal mandate, so we're still going to plan for it, so that inevitably when it comes down in some form, that the district is prepared for that.
Exactly.
Appreciate the work
yes.
that you guys did on that. Awesome.
And I think Andrea had an update about.
We had talked at our meeting, one of the question points was what is the city doing? Because they are also an employer with over 100, and my understanding is the city has decided to take the same approach, sort of a let's wait and see what happens with the stay that's currently lifted. So I think, I think we're well situated with the administration moving forward to put a draft together based on our thoughtful conversation, but sort of taking some time and making sure that we're doing what we need to do. I also just want to appreciate the staff that participated in this conversation at the policy committee. It was a really good and thoughtful discussion, and I think a good path was landed upon as a result of some really thoughtful discussion.
It's tough.
Any questions about that? Policy committee or anything about that? All right, good. Any other committee reports? Okay. Moving on to old business. 15.1, request to approve the emergency operation procedures for the 2021-2022 school year. This is action item, final approval. I have a motion. Motion made by Andrea. Second by Katie. All right, any discussion? Noreen?
Dr. Leoser, was the new elected candidates given the procedure policy? The operation, emergency procedures?
What was provided to school committee, not specifically, it hasn't been provided.
The new candidates, did they get that package that we got last month?
No, they have not.
Oh, I thought it was part of what I read, sorry.
Say that again.
I thought I read something about this in what I got the other day.
Okay.
Is that something we should be able to give them before the final vote on that? So they can know what they're voting on?
I can certainly provide that. I know that there was reviewed, I know both you, Mrs. Poitras, and Ms. Salisbury, reviewed the policy at length. It's a confidential policy, so it's kept very close because of the nature of the procedures. I can provide that information for you both.
There's certainly, if not comfortable, you're welcome to abstain from voting. The rest of us that were here certainly can vote on that. You're welcomed if you're not comfortable. We'll make sure that you get a copy of the emergency plan, and we can review that if you have any questions. All right, any other questions or comments about that? All those in favor? Do us a roll call.
No, just a show of hands.
Show of hands. All those in favor? Okay, 5 in favor. Any opposed? Abstaining? Okay, so 5 in favor, 2 abstaining. Item 15.2, request to approve a trip to Ireland for Westbrook Middle School students in April 2022. This is also an action item, final approval. Do I have a motion? Motion by Jeremy, seconded by Beth. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed. Item 15.3, request to approve the wrestling co-op for a period of 2 years. Also action item, final approval. Do we have a motion? Andrea, second by Jeremy. Any discussion on that item? All those in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed. Moving on to new business. These 2 items were okay, it was just the additional
Yes.
items, all right. Item 16.1, administrator teaching nominations. The first one is 16.1.1, physical science teacher at Westbrook High School, and then social worker, 2 years only at Saco Rapid Middle School. What are the wishes of the committee? I make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jeremy, seconded by Beth.
Are you taking those in aggregate?
You're taking those in the aggregate or individually?
Do that in aggregate.
In the
Possible.
aggregate, yep. So it'll be 16.1.1 and 16.1.2. Any discussion on either one of those positions?
Can I ask a
Andrea?
question? For the social worker at Sac Rapid and the middle school, I'm seeing it's a 2-year position only, but replacing Leah Brown, who resigned. Was Leah also a temporary
Yes.
position? So, okay,
Yeah, this is one of the ESSER-funded positions.
thanks.
And I might just add, both of these candidates are outstanding candidates, one at the beginning of a career and the other kind of in the middle of a career, and we're very fortunate to have both of them working in our schools.
Wonderful. Any other discussion on those? Right. All those in favor? All right, 7 in favor, none opposed. And 16.2, request to approve the changes to the Westbrook School Department policy JLCE, first aid and emergency care, action item, first approval. And Beth did mention that there will be some wordsmithing that will happen, nothing that'll be substantive, it won't change the meaning of the policy, but just some changing of some wording. And we'll get that when we vote on it again at our next meeting. What are the wishes of the committee?
That one
Yes?
is
No.
fine. That one,
Not that one?
JLCE is
Okay.
fine.
It's the R that is the one
It's
that has
R,
it. Okay,
right,
excuse
that
me.
just needs to be tweaked.
Okay. So on 16.2, the policy JLCE, what are the wishes of the committee? The motion by Andrea, second by Beth. Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed. Okay, this one, 16.3, to approve the changes to Westbrook School Department Policy JLCER, First Aid and Emergency Medical Care Procedure. This is the one that will have some wordsmithing. Okay, my bad. Thank you. This is also action item, first approval. The wishes of the committee? The motion by Andrea, second by Jeremy. All those in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed. Finally, 16.4, request to approve a finder's fee for substitute recruitment and to increase the substitute rate of pay. This is also an action item, first approval. What are the wishes of the committee? Motion by Katie. Second by Beth. Discussion on this item? Andrea?
Is this a thing that will require 2 readings before it can be implemented? typically?
Typically, it's because you're spending money. If you'd like to do it as a first and final, you can certainly do that as well.
I'd ask Katie if she'd be willing to entertain a friendly amendment to make it, to suspend our rules and make it first and final so that the school can move forward with the recruitment that needs to happen to fill the positions.
I don't know if you want to change it. Okay.
I do have something I would like to add, though. One of the things I know that can be a hardship for people looking to become substitutes or even just like teachers in the district is the cost of the fingerprinting fees, which is at last check $70. So when you're looking to pay somebody $100 to come work for the day, $70 just to like get your application in can be a little bit much. I don't know if there's ways to mitigate that, to make that seem a little less daunting, so that maybe we could attract more people and not have them go, oh, wow, okay, wait, I don't want to go spend $70 first.
We have started to look into that as a possibility and trying to wrap our minds around some numbers and what that would look like. I'd like to bring that as a consideration at our next meeting, but because we would like to look at that as well, because it is daunting for not just substitute employees, but even our new employees. Is that something that we could be covering? Of course, we want to be careful of full exposure to doing that, moving forward, if this is something that would just be temporary. The recommendations I'm making with these pieces, I don't see as temporary, even though a number of our substitute costs are being covered by the emergency funds. I think as we go into the next several years, we need to be competitive with subs, certainly, but also with recruiting, because with the recruiting incentive, that's a morale booster as well, because so many people, when I interview them as their final interview, I'll ask them, why are you interested in Westbrook? And probably 2/3 of them say, because I know people here, and because people have said it's a good place to come to work. Your kids are wonderful, your staff is wonderful. So that gives an incentive to our current employees to kind of cement their pride in their workplace. So, but we are looking into what that would look like, full exposure. This week kind of got away with us with COVID, but we will have that for you as a consideration at our next finance meeting.
Great. And I'm fine with amending.
Amending that. Okay. So amending the motion to make this first and final. Just one other thing I wanted to mention, when we talked about some of the barriers to some of these, it was pointed out to me that the sub application is 25 pages long. About 5 pages of that is sort of information about why you're signing on to something, but it might be something for us to take a look at the applications and see if that might be a barrier. Okay, so we have request to approve a finder's fee for substitute recruitment and to increase the substitute rate of pay, and this will be first and final approval. Right, all those in favor? Right, 7 in favor and unopposed.
Thank you.
Great. And then we have an addition, it's actually 16.6. We had 16.5 that we removed. This is to request to accept a donation of $1,500 to the 3 elementary schools from the Westbrook Gorham Chamber for winter items and holiday gifts. This is an action item for approval. What are the wishes of the committee? Motion by Andrea, seconded by Jeremy.
Was this one that Jane also recommended? Do we need to do first and final?
This can just be approval.
Okay.
Great. Any other discussion or questions about this? Yes.
Just thank you to the Chamber for recognizing the needs of our kids. At this time of year, we have a lot of folks who are in need of winter clothes. We have a lot of students who have not been in a cold climate before, so this will be very much appreciated, as will the holidays.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, all those in favor? All right, 7 in favor, none opposed. Great. Okay, this brings us to important dates. December 13th, the Facilities Committee meeting. It says central office, but I think, are you guys meeting at the high school?
Yes.
Okay. And where do you usually meet?
We usually come in the library entrance.
Okay, right down the hallway there. All right.
Library.
December 15th is the Ed Programs meeting, central office, 5 o'clock. December 20th at 5, the Policy Committee meeting, central office. December 23rd to the 31st is school vacation. December 25th is Christmas, no school, central office is closed. January 1st, New Year's Day, no school, central office is closed. January 2nd, school resumes. January 5th at 5 o'clock is the Finance Committee meeting at central office. January 12th at 7 is the school committee meeting here at the Performing Arts Center. January 17th, Martin Luther King Day observed, there's no school, central office is closed. January 19th at 5 p.m., Ed Programs Committee meeting at central office. January 24th at 5, Policy Committee meeting, central office. January 28th, second quarter ends. February 2nd at 5 p.m., Finance Committee meeting at central office. February 9th at 7 p.m., school committee meeting here at the Performing Arts Center. Are there any other important dates? Noreen?
I didn't think there was a meeting on December 20th for policy. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's an error. There's no policy meeting unless one has to be scheduled. There is no meeting on the 20th.
Okay, so no meeting on the 20th.
Right.
Okay, all right?
And also, Ms. Salisbury?
Yes.
Could I add that January 12th, which is the next school committee's regular meeting, there'll be a joint city council school committee gathering before that at 5:30 here in the Performing Arts Center. It's one of our quarterly meetings with the city council to discuss preliminary budget as well as other topics. So that'll be at 5:30 here at the PAC.
Okay. Anything else? Great. Okay, next up is public participation. Any school-related matter, 3 minutes per speaker. Does anybody have any public comments they'd like to make? You can come and state your name and your address, please.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Amanda Krantz, 614 Methodist Road. I don't have prepared comments, but I just wanted to ask a couple of questions in follow-up to some of the COVID protocol discussion that was earlier from Peter. So I was just wondering, out of the, and I don't know if you have stats on this, but if you do, I would be curious as to what they are. Of the folks that have been identified as positive cases through the pooled testing, do you know how many of those were showing symptoms or just showed up through the testing protocol? I was wondering about that. And then I was also wondering, can I pull this down just while I'm talking? Okay, thank you. I was also wondering, out of all of the identified close contacts, because I know that's been a ton of work and a ton of phone calls, do you know how many of those identified close contacts have resulted in positive cases? Because I'm just wondering, like, if we've had however many, 1,800 close contacts or whatever the number was, I can't remember exactly, but none of them have turned into actual positive cases, are we doing a ton of work to prevent something that maybe wasn't going to turn into a case anyways? And then I was also wondering, do we have any data or a way to compare with any other comparable school districts that maybe aren't doing pooled testing, kind of as like a control to compare what their numbers look like and what the amount of close contacts and quarantining and remote learning has had to happen in a school district where they're maybe not doing pooled testing? So those were a few of the questions. What was the other one? I can't remember. Those are the ones I remember off the top of my head, but I don't know. Do you have any data around any of that?
Right now, it's just participation, just bringing up the points that you have, and what we can do is respond to you via email and get that data for you. Okay.
How could people who are maybe watching or not here have access to that information as well?
We can figure out a way, maybe we can put that information on our website.
Okay, all right. That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Any school committee members? Any announcements? All right, I'll be looking for motion to adjourn from Andrea, seconded by Beth. All right. Thank you.
We need a-
Adjourn. Peter?
You have to
All those in
vote.
favor? Oh. Thank you. Officially official.